Connecticut at midnight is a ghost town. People aren't on streets. People aren't on highways. Transport trucks are lined up on off-ramps, sleeping it off. Just dark. A big patch of dark. I'm in the passenger seat thinking, what am I doing here? My wife's calling me on my cell phone. Newborn baby at home. But I can't answer. Not yet. I'm not a captive. It's just, well, it's complicated. I met Rob, my driver, because, well, friends had introduced us. Maybe he would like to talk. Maybe it would do something for him. Maybe I could write something about him. Maybe getting his story out would help him heal. Rob's not very distinct. 5'9", 180 pounds. Regular job, regular life. Well, regular, except that his son was killed by a bullet in his classroom. By a gun that was purchased by a person who was basically crazy. But was given a gun because, well, that's the law. Or at least our rights. Well, it's definitely something. Rob told me he was a single dad. That's what he said when I met him. I didn't ask what he meant by that since he didn't have a son now because, well, that's a stupid question. I mean, when you have kids, you realize, here or not, alive or dead, you're always a dad. More than anything, you're always a dad. That's a for better or worse type thing. And Rob's situation was worse. He's handing me printouts of emails he's highlighted. Your son's not dead, says one. The whole thing is just a hoax, another. Come clean, be honest. Rob drives as I read this. Windows up, heat on, no radio, him quiet. Until he leans over me, coat brushes across me, and he opens the glove box. There are only certain things we keep in our glove boxes. Insurance cards, receipts, sunglasses, handguns. I'm going to use that, he says. I'm going to use that thing tonight. And we drive. The phone in my pocket, vibrating the whole way. Now, the thing is, I like guns. I'm not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to like guns. Liberals don't like guns. Liberals run and hide from guns, literally. Liberals say that people who own guns are retarded and have small dicks. Well, they're liberals, so they don't say it like that. But that's basically what they mean. So you're basically at a small dick retarded monologue. So how did I fall so far off the path? How did I lose my liberal God? Was I abused, manipulated? I met guns when I was 8 years old. It was like meeting a person. Remington stood in the corner wall of my father's mudroom. A place to kick off shoes, throw coats on the ground, after hours out working on fences or putting boards up on the garage. It was upstate New York. We lived by no one. It wasn't farm life, but it was rural. My backyard's woods. To the left of us, a dumping ground. To the right, a dog that never shut up. And in the mudroom, not locked up or guarded, stood Remington. Wife's parents' home is the same thing. Even now you go into their home. 2 retired school teachers, rural Canada. Off the kitchen and the first floor laundry stands Remington too. As a kid, I never touched it. A lot of tragic stories about kids and guns, disastrous games played while parents were in the next room. I was curious. I was aware, but I kept my distance. Well, my room was above the mudroom. And late at night, I'd hear my brothers stumble in drunk. And I remembered that the gun pointed up, and I worried that they'd bump into it. It would go off, and the bullet would crash through the ceiling into my bed and into my heart. And I thought about how mad people would be at me. That last part doesn't make sense, but the whole thing doesn't make sense. I was a kid and I was terrified, and that was the point. One afternoon, when no one was around, I came into the mudroom, tried to hang my coat on my brother's coat, turned around, and without thinking, I hit the gun. It fell. Sent it tumbling to the ground, muzzle pointed at me, metal crashing, smack, I brace. And nothing. Nothing. I cried, but nothing. Maybe that's when I became a liberal. I cried at a gun. And then I got angry. Angry this thing had power over me. Kept me up at night, made me jump and cry. Then I thought about how my friends would make fun of me if they'd seen me. Nothing worse than a schoolboy that seems scared, weak, so obviously vulnerable. So, I took the gun. I took it, picked it up, and walked around the house. Pointed it at the dog, pointed it at the mirror, pointed it at myself. Went outside and off into the woods. Now I'm just a boy and a gun. Our backyard descended on a big slope of a hill. Led to a dark opening, and then it was just trees. Scared me as a kid. Another shameful admission. Because it was so isolated, and it connected to an unmarked dumping area. You'd hear voices even though it was our land. So I'd play army back there by myself some days, till I heard things or imagined I heard things. Then I'd run for my life. Parents made fun of me. Nothing back there. Overactive imagination, scared of his own shadow. So I walked back and aimed at squirrels and chipmunks until I heard a voice. Behind me, past a bush. Someone there, I asked? Instinctively, I hid the gun at my side, out of sight, a bush hiding in a part of me. So worried that I'd been caught doing something bad. By who, I didn't know, but caught nonetheless. So I hid the gun, turned and looked. And in the shallow part of the creek where you can stand without getting wet, I saw a man. Tank top, tattoos on arms, One of a woman like Betty Page, the other of a knife, face unshaven, para-wreck, jeans, looking at me. Hey, where are your parents at, kid? I say nothing. You live in that big house on the hill over there? Didn't see a car. Thought it was empty. He walks toward me. I back up and stumble a bit. Whoa, don't back up, kid. You're gonna hurt yourself. He laughs and adds, couldn't outrun me anyway. Like an hour earlier, I don't know what to do. I want to cry, I burst out into tears. So I do what I learned. I point the gun at him. He takes another step. So I do what I've seen my brother Brian do with it. I pull back the hammer. We both hear it. Bullet in the chamber. He stops, stares at me. We don't move. And then he runs the opposite direction. I trip over myself, walking backwards, pointing wildly, rotating, aiming at nothing, aiming at everything, until I'm through the opening, up our hill, through the front door. So all the doors and windows are locked. I sit on the living room couch, looking out the back window, gun up until my parents get home. They ask me what I'm doing. I don't tell them. I don't need their help. A horror movie on TV, WPIX in New York, Channel 11. No more horror movies, they say. Remington goes back on the wall. I go to bed. No longer scared of the gun living underneath me. I can defend myself. Understand? Might is right. Some would assume this is the motto of the NRA. But really, it's firearms safety education, marksmanship training, shooting for recreation. It was founded by soldiers, survivors of the Civil War, Yankees, liberals like me who were so pissed off at how many people died because they couldn't fire a damn gun. The North had greater resources, more men, but the South could shoot. The North couldn't. And that they needed to change for prosperity. We need a place to train, somewhere to prepare for these rednecks again. And New York State said, did I hear rednecks? Yes, you did. And a 25,000-acre land grant was deeded. General Ambrose Burnside, badass name, gun show or not, Ambrose Burnside, badass, was made the head of the group, the head of training, the head of what was basically a militia. And all was well. The North trained, the South rebuilt. Peace instated. For years. And then, we got our problems, see? 1920. Oh, 1920. Picture Jimmy Cagney talking to Jimmy Cagney. They passed the 18th Amendment, boss. Oh, what's that mean? No more alcohol, boss. We've never outlawed guns, but drinks, yes. Alcohol is outlawed. Now it's 1 million Jim Cagneys. There's $1 to be made here, boss. How you figure? Moonshine, speakeasies, the American way. And the Flatfoots, we can't outmaneuver them. Who needs to? We can just outgun them. sawed-off shotguns, machine guns, early automatic weapons. For 5 years, the news are awash with murder and mayhem. 7 gang members murdered execution style by men dressed as Chicago police officers in what is being called the St. Valentine's Massacre. Capone, Bonnie and Clyde, Dillinger firing his machine guns in the air after bank robberies. We're the sexiest criminals in America, says the crime underling to his boss. To which his boss, maybe like a Brando guy, says, yes, yes we are. Sex is how earlier guns are sold. Colt guns specifically. There's a Colt plant in Connecticut. And Sam Colt. Poor Sam Colt was an abandoned child growing up, an indentured farm worker filled with anger and abandonment and a need to prove himself and an American interest in a buck. Overheard soldiers talking about how revolutionary a gun would be if you could fire 5 times without reloading. And Colt set his mind to building that gun. And when he did, he created endorsements. He engraved the names of princes he gave them to. He had the paintings of the Western expansion made, where guns stood prominently in the battle scene. Colt guns taking out Native Americans left and right like a weird Tom Cruise movie. He created this celebrity endorsement before a Kardashian knew what an app was, before Jordan trademarked his Jumpman pose. It was chaos, and guns were at the forefront. In the NRA, they hated it. They pounded the doors of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. What are you doing about this? Get off your ass, big stick. You know what you can do about these murders and guns. What? Asked the old wheelchair-bound man. You can stop them. The NRA said this. You can stop them, and we can help. So, the National Firearms Act gets drafted. So does the National Gun Control Act. And so, the NRA lays down the rules. We will impose high taxes on sawed-off shotguns, machine guns, and silencers, making it all but impossible for the average citizen to own them. We will require a permit to carry a concealed weapon, add 5 years to a prison sentence if a gun is used in a crime, and ban non-citizens from buying handguns. Carl Frederick, the NRA president, stood before Congress and said, I have never believed in the general practice of carrying weapons. I do not believe in such promiscuous toting of guns. What kinder, gentler times they must have been living in, where you didn't have to fear for your safety or the safety of others, or worry about the lunatic next door. Imagine being a father and doing this routine. You sit in a room and you imagine it's your son's school day and you are your son. You position the chair the way the police told you it was. You face the door, which is terrifying because you see him. You see him first, the man. take out your math book, you look up, and it must seem like a movie. You think for your son, it must seem like TV. In the window of the door is a person. But they don't look like a person. They have on a mask and padding, and it's all dark. Like a Star Wars character. And you're little enough to probably not even feel the fear. He looks like a cartoon. And so as your son did, you sit there and you think, what would I do? What would my son have done? Rob, sure, if it was his son, he'd wave. He'd wave at him. And what would he do? The man with the gun. Would he wave back? Would he wave at your son? The months after his son was killed, much like the months after every mass killing, gun sales spiked around the country. Rob was one of the men purchasing. He never owned a gun, but he was having nightmares regularly, panic. And he spoke very openly about the biggest failure of his life would be that he could not, that he did not protect his son. He is not who a media gives sound bites to. He bought a pistol, used, he tells me. He didn't know where to go, so he went to a gun range. They directed him to a gun seller. The gun seller directed him to a small firearm. The shop owner tells him the best guns for beginners are typically a 22 or a 38. Of course, you get proficient with that, you move up the classes to the 9mm, the really big boys with real stopping power. He tells him he never thought of it as being a graduated process, that you bought one gun and graduated to the next. In the end, you judge a few things: caliber, the size of the bullet's diameter and the damage it leaves behind, recoil, the backwards momentum you get after you shoot the gun. You should pick it up. There's a gun plant in Connecticut. Colt manufacturer. Same Colt in the celebrity endorsements. Same Colt from the Colt 45. The revolver, not the beer. Same Colt that is in that glove compartment. Go on, pick it up. I like Rob. I do. But I don't like this. It's heavy. I think everyone who holds a gun for the first time notices that. It's heavy. Which it should be for what it can do. But its heaviness means something more. It means, I think, it means it's real. I gotta call my wife. She keeps calling. Yeah, he says, of course. My wife calls again. Where are you? Can you pick some things up? I'm out with Rob, I tell her. What does she need? You can hear my phone sounds like shit anyway. We can get it. She keeps talking and he talks too. And as surreal as this is on this death march, I'm passing my phone over to Rob so he and my wife can chat about toiletries. A sitz bath? Oh, I know that. More aspirin, yep, I remember that. And pickles, really? Pickles? My wife didn't have the pickles thing, but that's cute. When my son was born, I stopped thinking about my own death. I'd been obsessed with it for some time, at least since my 20s. I'd have these moments almost daily where it would hit me like a realization that I was going to die. That I would at some point cease. And it's not revelatory to hear me say that. We all know we're going to die. But I would feel it so concretely, so succinctly, that it would be a panic. I'm not exaggerating when I say I felt it every day. Usually at night I'd lay in bed and I would think it. I'd stare up at the ceiling and I would think, none of this is going to exist because you won't exist. And then I had my son. It wasn't magic. I didn't stop thinking about my imminent demise. I haven't stopped thinking about it. I'm just okay with it. I'm okay with dying, as long as I make things better, easier, safer. Safer for my son. If I can do that, I can die, which is a very big step for me. I can die with some grace. But if he died before me, could I live with grace? Could I live? I don't know. See, before him, I was scared of the world. I felt I could run, hide, avoid it. If the street was too dark, if I felt people walking over my shoulder, let them pass or shuffle to a more out-of-the-way block. But my son, I don't want him to live scared. I don't want to be scared around him. I want to protect him. I will protect him. That is how I ended up here. Parked outside the Colt manufacturing plant at 11:30 at night. Rob on my phone with my wife, talking about sitz baths as he reaches across me into the glove compartment. How I ended up here is because of Rob. Rob is everything I fear. His life is the Remington against the wall that could go off. You like writing plays? Sure. they're great. This is a weird conversation to be having in the middle of this. What made you want to? Write plays? Probably arrogance. I thought I had something worth listening to. Insecurity. Just wanted someone desperately to listen. And then he asks, want me to put some music on? And I say no. I'm more interested in what the fuck we're doing here, man. Silence. He looks at me. He says it real simply. I know a dad who sleeps with his son's socks. I know a mom who can't step foot outside her living room. The hallways remind her too much. They pass by her daughter's room. I know people who got up and spoke, shared their kid, and that helped. And I know me. What do you mean you know you? I know. I won't stop thinking about this. I know I would want him to know that I did something. That Dad did something. His son. I won't mention his name, mainly because he asked me not to. My son's name is Eamon. And I can't say that I wouldn't want Eamon to know the same thing. God forbid. If I couldn't protect him when something terrible happened, I would want him to know that I would do anything to protect him now. Even if it was just a gesture. I like guns. I'm doubling down. I like guns. Which at this point of the story is probably really infuriating. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Have you hurt yourself? Do you need a playback? I'm like the coworker that tells you their lover steals from them and then says, but when we're alone, they're really good to me. So what's my problem? I could quote a lot of things. Like I'm scared. I'm scared of ISIS, scared of home invasions, random street crime, the undeniable proof of zombies, scared for my family's safety, I'm scared for my life. I could say it's my right. I have a right to defend myself, the right to bear arms, to join a militia if it's well regulated. I have a right to buy a gun, wear a gun, keep a gun, hide a gun. I could tell you I'm responsible. That guns kill people to the same degree that forks make people fat. I could tell you all that. But it wouldn't really get to the heart of it. I like guns because guns are fucking powerful. As good liberals, and I'm assuming we're good liberals, since no one has stopped me, I'd say we're very good liberals. But as good liberals, You probably never touched these machines, these ugly machines of death. And I'll tell you something. After I carried the gun from my parents' house into the woods and pointed it at a strange man who I felt threatened by, I didn't immediately dive into the gun culture. I wasn't getting American Riflemen sent to me in the mail with Rolling Stones and highlights for kids. Nobody gave me my teen NRA badge. No. Power is scary. I didn't want that power. Are you kidding me? I put Remington back against the wall. For a long time, I didn't even look at it. But power's like that troll in The Lord of the Rings, that Gollum, that precious. Power shows up when I'm 16 like a demon. This guy I know named Steve finds a gun while we're at work. We're teammates on football, not very close. Steve's 6'4", 225 pounds, and about to go to school on a steroid-fueled scholarship, though our coaches still mocked him, said he's soft, no killer instinct. We're camp counselors that summer. We played kickball and volleyball with local fat kids all day while flirting with girls a year or two younger than us. It's summer, and we're carefree, which makes you really susceptible to anything. Right, precious? We wait with the kids at the end of the camp day. There are buses and parents to hand them off to. We wait in the parking lot to make sure everyone was off okay. We wait in our matching teal t-shirts, saw buses and cars pull out. And then Steve says, "Yo, I gotta show you something." He waits until it's the two of us, walks back towards the tennis court, a stretch where it's nothing but rocks. He stops, ducks off the path, moves a few rocks, and there it is, a .38. I just found this, man, before last period. How? Light bounced off it. A kid ran through here, moved a rock or something. So you covered it up? Yeah. Then Steve asks, "How much you think it's worth?" "How the fuck do I know?" was my answer. "I don't typically fence guns," is my answer. Silence was my real answer. A shrug. He wanted me to drive with him after work. He knew a guy. Wanted to go tell the guy that, yes, there was a gun in the park. I think looking back, he was scared. He was soft. But I went. I went with him. Because that's power. Power opens up worlds. You start to live in something that feels like a movie. That's the moment where you weirdly feel more alive. In the middle of a fantasy, you feel more alive. I'm not a kid with nice parents and a mundane job where I take kids to water parks. I'm a gun runner. I live in a small apartment on the wrong side of town, typically on the wrong side of the tracks. There's an out-of-use rail line. So I'm with Steve, and it's like an outtake of a Tarantino movie, us knocking. "Who is it?" "Steve and a friend." The guy's older than us, bigger than us, quiet, bit dirty. Definitely angry, like true angry, like real angry. Like his whole life is holding on to that rage. He talks to Steve and moves to his car, drives behind us the whole way to the park. Parks behind us, so we can't pull out until he does. We go to where we hid the gun, same place Steve found it. It's right here, Steve says. He moves a stone, and it's gone. The guy slaps Steve in the face, sends the Division I player flying. He looks at me, and I'm ready to shit. But that's power. His anger, us being there. He threatens me and he says, the thing is, I still don't know where that gun went. Every time I hear a story, shooting here, shooting there, I wonder about that gun and where it went. And now I find myself in a place where all good liberals find themselves. Grad school. I'm in grad school, baby. In grad school, if you haven't been, is really a paradise. You read books, talk to people about those books, use books to flirt. Me, you write, share work, talk some more. You're always talking and philosophizing and saying how the world should be, what's stupid about the world and what's wrong with the world. And aren't we lucky to be here and away from all those savages? Most of whom seem to live in Florida. For some reason, Florida seems fucking nuts. So I find myself, after a big shooting, working with some classmates. I can't remember when, because there was always a big shooting. And it might not even have been a big shooting. It might have been a medium shooting, like maybe 5 people died, really small. But we were upset and bothered, so we decided to make a piece. And we called that piece, wait for it, Trigger. Because it had multiple meanings. The trigger of the gun, the trigger of the shooter, the emotional trigger of society. So we got together and we improvised scenes. Why do you think you need a gun to feel more manly? No? Well then. It was awful. But we wrote scenes and did interviews. And then we went to a gun range. And this is where the story shifts completely. See, I have held a gun, carried a gun, presented a gun, and I had always remained anti-gun. And then the smallest difference occurs. I fire a gun. That's the shit right there. It's just a gun range, nothing special. Just fields, a few fences, a target 100 yards away. Each of us gets a turn to fire. And that was it. And not just for me. Dee, who's from Los Angeles, was actually grazed by a bullet when she was 9. Scar right here. Wants to buy a gun. Barry, who was adamantly opposed. Yep, gun too. Me? I signed up for lessons. Grad school had made me a card-carrying member of the NRA. Scarily, I'm probably not the first person to say that. I had been scared of it my whole life, and now I controlled it. As for our play, we basically said, if you don't want us to own guns, you shouldn't let us fire them. The NRA sends me a magazine. I used to get Shooting Illustrated, now it's American Hunter. There's also American Rifleman and America's First Freedom. First Freedom is the most political of the magazines. It lists enemies to gun rights. It has op-eds on the hypocrisy of anti-gun politicians who travel with security details. It rips the idea that gun control stops gun tragedies. The NRA, as I told you, it started out as a training ground. It started out legislating itself, seeing gangsters and moonshiners blowing up city streets saying, "We can't live like this," demanding law and changing rule. But things grow. The world changes. Lord knows when the Founding Fathers wrote about owning weapons, they were dragging along one-shot muskets that took so long to load that you better not only have the resolve to kill someone, but you better have the whole day to do it. If you have errands, a musket murder is not going to be a convenience. So we, the National Rifle Association, because its members are the association, we changed too, because of what we saw. We saw John Kennedy get shot, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy. We lived through Manson, hippie colors turning red. People forget the terror of Manson. Anonymous murders throughout the hills of Hollywood. Untouchables, celebrities literally gutted. Race war brewing. The nation's political elite watched armed Black Panthers taking over city halls with assault rifles in hand. The police don't protect us. The government don't protect us. We protect us. The world seemed to be descending. Republican mouthpieces like Ronald Reagan, Ronnie Reagan, were shook, looking at the world they were in, saying, "There's no reason why on the streets today a citizen should be carrying loaded weapons." So we, the NRA, tried to do what we did before. Legislation. The Gun Control Act of 1968. A minimum age for gun buyers, guns having serial numbers, barring felons to include the mentally ill and drug addicts, IDs required for certain kinds of bullets. And the motherfucking storm began brewing. Like Shakespeare, a split started to widen inside the NRA. We're being harassed, says the gun dealers. We provide a service, and they keep changing the rules of the service. The South, they understand this feeling, this sense of judgment. It's the inner cities, they say. They can't police, so they take away. They make us victims now. So what do? In some small corner, what do? I know a man who believes in what we do, who will fight our fight, who will not let them take away what is ours. Who, the question goes up. The conspirators are ready with the answer. His name is Harlan Carter. Harlan Carter, the man who would change the way the NRA worked, was not just another hard-headed repub with gun freedom on his mind. He was an earlier era's version of George Zimmerman. When Carter was 17, he approached a Mexican teenager who he believed helped steal his family's car. The other boy was 15. When Carter approached him, he pulled a knife. And when he pulled that knife, Carter shot him dead. The conviction was overturned. Self-defense, the appeals court said. So, the plan? We will create a new lobbying arm under Harlan to expand our rights and bring back our freedom. and there'll never be a better year for it than now. The year is 1976. Bicentennial pride is everywhere. The red, white, and blue waves, amendments quoted. We will build an army for this cause, equal to the patriots of the Revolution who gave us these rights in the first place. Like good Shakespeare, the battle is fraught. The NRA's old guard smell the takeover. Call the board of directors. Fire Harding Carter. Fire him and anyone working for this agenda. We will not be swayed to extremism, to fight our own government, our own citizenry. In exile, Carter and his supporters plan. There shall be revenge. As his murder sentence in his teen years prove, he does not take punishment lightly. So, it's Cincinnati, May 1977. The annual convention is moved from D.C. to the Queen City. If they want to regulate guns in D.C., they will not see our money. It's just a convention, but think on that phrase. The group is in complete unrest. Carter's people have hijacked the meeting. They take the floor, and in quick numbers and surprise on their side, they immediately revise the way the board of directors are chosen, recommit the NRA to fighting gun control, and restore political lobbying to its main mission. Harlan Carter becomes Richard III, the NRA's new executive director. He cancels a planned move of the organization's headquarters from Washington to Colorado Springs. He changes the organization's motto on its D.C. headquarters to an edit of the Second Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. After Carter's election to lead the NRA in 1981, the New York Times reported his teenage vigilante killing and how he changed his first name spelling to hide it. At first, he said the shooting was done by someone else, and then he recanted, but refused to discuss it. The hardliners of the NRA loved it. Who better to lead than a man who understood the value of a gun for self-protection? The donations to congressmen begin rolling in.
This is an AR-15 with a Trump stock Make America Great grips, and we are at Arizona Arms booth at the gun show. So come on down, take a look at this. You can take this home today, ladies or gentlemen. I'm gonna get one. I don't know about you, but I freaking love this thing.
I'm in Connecticut, on a road in the middle of the night, driving towards a gun manufacturer. Rob is sweating. In the rearview mirror are flashing lights. A police officer pulls us over. I feel like a hostage. I feel like a child has been abducted, who's so scared they can't say anything. They just hope. Hope they can put some energy out, some essence that says, help. Something is wrong. The police officer is young. He looks like a teenager, which is some weird shit that happens once you turn 35. Everyone younger than you looks like a teenager. Worse when you're still in the arts at 35. Everyone in authority looks like a teenager. It's like a very fucked up Peter Pan complex. Rob doesn't falter, and I don't speak. He has a flashlight on us. Where are you headed? Me? Oh, I'm just an accessory. He's headed to a premeditated murder scene. Thanks, officer. Well, you make sure you take it a little slow around here, gentlemen. You have a good night. We will, officer. In my head, I play over the first few conversations with Rob. I think the first thing I did was show him a picture of my son. I mean, he has to see it. He really likes seeing young kids. I was surprised. I think it'd be too much for him. But he needed it. He said seeing young kids made his son seem more alive, like they could be friends. My boy in the picture, his in the grave. And I remember him holding the pic for a long time. And it's weird. As a new parent, you feel so possessive. I don't like people looking at pictures of my son for too long, or holding him or taking him out of the room. I don't trust. Even more than that, he's mine. I guess for some weird reason, I need that to be known. So I remember him staring intently at this picture on my phone, and me reaching across and taking it out of his hand, and it was awkward as fuck. From there, I would see him twice a month. We would often drive. Rob was funny because he was no nonsense. He thought talking while we drove was easier, so he wouldn't have to look at me. He could just ramble and I could listen. And he wouldn't have to worry about what my face was doing. Was I judging, sleeping, empathizing, coaching? So we would often drive. Because of his workday hours, we would meet late sometimes. It was never a thing. Tonight, it's a thing. Tonight, what exactly is your plan here? I'm going to ask to talk to the foreman. And shoot him? Rob. And then shoot him? My phone rings. Wife at home. Eamon at home. Come on, Rob says. There are trees around us. He's parked in a shaded area. Maybe he's worried about cameras. So if this happens, he can be a murderer and a getaway artist, lengths he's at. My phone rings again. I gotta answer this. He walks ahead. There are lights on in the building at late hours. Looks like a few people are inside. Rob! I answer my phone, it's my wife. Are you coming home, she asks. Yes, what's wrong, she asks. Rob, she wants to talk to you. Is Eamon up? Put him on the phone. Eamon's up, Rob. Do you want to talk to Eamon right before we do this? He'd like to. He walks back to me. I give him the phone and I'm shaking. Wife on the line, and I hear Rob saying, "Can I talk to Eamon?" He puts the gun on the hood of the car. "Hey, little guy." Oh, that screech. I hear him squealing. I grab the gun, and I'm off, and I'm running. And in that moment, I realize the gun is not a symbol. It's not a character. It's not power or precious. It's one thing: a means of firing a bullet into another person. I'm 12 years old in my parents' mudroom, and I'm scared. I hear from behind, "Come back!" I run. And the poet in me thinks, what are we concealing and carrying? Who are we? And what do we believe? We gonna conceal our fear? Carry our powerlessness? Will I conceal and carry my son? A boy underneath my coat, ushered through the world, hoping to hide him from everything that is horrible? Shall I conceal and carry myself? My stupid, self-hating self? My fearful self? My aging and growing more conservative by the day self? Carry it all to where? And more importantly, reveal it when? Because you conceal anything for too long, and that's a powder keg. Rob is fast, faster than my thoughts. I'm galloping down the road, and I think what I will do is throw it into the woods. Just a nice toss out in the dark, and hope that does it. Hope that's the end. I'm running and huffing, and I realize I am slow. Rob is fast. I have fear. Rob has purpose. Purpose is faster than fear. The gazelle has fear. The leopard has purpose. The leopard catches the gazelle every time. He tackles me around the waist. It's clumsy. He knocks me forward. My skin rubs against a rock in the ground. It's dark, but it feels like it does when you're cut. And he's just repeating, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Give me the fucking gun." And my brain isn't really working, but I hear someone say, "I'm gonna throw it into the forest. I'm just gonna get rid of it." The gun is just a fucking symbol of what it could be. It's Moloch. The gun is Moloch. The great angel fallen from heaven, who when landed on earth, demanded that children be thrown into its fiery mouth, sacrificed. And the people did it willingly. Parents did it willingly. Everyone did it willingly. What is in my hand is Moloch. He says, Rob, he says, "I don't want to take it from you, but I will." I'm on my back, and I do. I hand him the gun. Only in America can a gun be handed from a liberal writer to a mass shooting survivor he's interviewing. Neither of us says anything cool. No catchphrases or movieisms. Nothing memorable. Neither of us says anything. He backs away, puts the gun in his waistband, determined. My phone is still in his hand. He must have run without thinking. Still holding it. And right at the perfect moment, we hear, choo, choo. It's the ringtone I gave my wife for when she calls to say goodnight with Eamon. And Rob does this thing when he hears it. He just crumbles. He lets go. This is what you watch. A man letting go. His feet, his knees, his stomach, his heart, his head. My writings dealt with tragedy before. It's why Rob's friends thought we'd connect. I wrote stories about Rwanda, the south side of Chicago, the poor, the defenseless. And I've always had a part of me that thought, this is great, but is this my story to tell? I'm a white male. People going into buildings, shooting everyone in sight, that is my cultural story to tell. We understand the story of the powerless who, when beaten, stolen, trampled for long enough, grow enraged, snap. That's how we say it, right? They snap, like the problem is with them. What we don't talk about is the story of the powerful who don't know what to do when they perceive that power has been taken away. That to them is danger. That snap. I look at Rob, and it's so strange. I grew up with guns. And when I think about all this and my son, I immediately and have always assumed my son as a victim. But what if he were the predator? That's how you go from a liberal who likes guns to a liberal who likes guns. But maybe not in my house. I help Rob. I put him in the passenger seat. I let him listen to the sounds of Eamon cooing a message for me as I drive. He does not ask for the gun again. He does not ask for the gun plant again. He just cries and listens. and out the window he stares. Outside it's raining. On a street in a small city in Connecticut, I park Rob's car and tell him to wait. I walk down the street into a shop. Yankee, peddler, and pawn, 24 hours. I'm wet. I look insane. I look like a man who's at his wit's end. A man who's had enough. The owner says, "Can I help you?" In the way that you do when you don't want to help, but instead want to recognize, to call out, to warn. When you want to say, "You look like trouble, and if you are, I will deal with you." I put my hands in my pocket. The cashier puts his under the counter. And somehow I realize we both have our hands on the same death-inducing things. Again he asks, "Can I help you?" "Yes," I finally say. Behind him is an American flag on the wall. You can. You can help me. And I take out Rob's gun. Rob's vengeance. Rob's symbol. Rob's son. And I place it on the counter. I don't know what to do with this anymore. Take it from me. Take it. Please.